most of you guys know already who that guy is. Lloyd Harris, a pro player from Cape Town, the most beautiful city in the world. Okay, getting into the golf topic right away at the start. When did you start? How did that start? What is your handicap? Give us a short insight on your golf career so far.
Yeah, well, I've really become a big fan of golf. It wasn't always my thing, I would say. But yeah, I think in lockdown with COVID and everything, it was one of the first things that kind of opened up. And then my sister and her husband, like all my friends around me, they were all playing, and I was like, shit, it actually looks kind of fun. I wasn't really playing, and then I went, for that first trip when it kind of opened up for tennis again, and when I came back, I just couldn't anymore. I had to go play with everyone because otherwise every weekend all my friends was playing, my family was playing. Like I'm the only one like barely playing golf. I've hit balls before, I've played before, but absolutely terrible. And then I started getting into it. And then ever since then, I've just loved it. Worked a little bit on my game. Now I'm like, I think 8.5 handicap. So yeah, so I got it down to single figures, which was my goal, my ultimate goal.
Coming back, of course, to you saying you have not been out there for playing, of course, also due to your wrist injury that came like middle of this year. When was the fall that you were telling me on the tennis happened actually on the tennis court that you fell down? How did it happen actually? Lloyd.
Yeah, so I fell last year during the Dubai Open when I reached the final. The doctor reckons that's, obviously we have some footage, but we reckon that's the incident where I fell and snapped my TFCC completely off, my tendon. Because everything lines up. About 5 days later, I couldn't hold a racket anymore, couldn't play. I was in Miami. I had to pull out of Miami. I won first round there still. Had to play Batista good. Pulled out. Went for scan. Went for MRI. They told me I have a bone bruising on my wrist. But yeah, my physio wasn't with me at the time. She wasn't really traveling with me. And yeah, so we went to see an orthopedic surgeon there. He didn't say it was a TFCC. He said it's a possibility of one of the tendons getting hurt there, but it's definitely a bone bruising. So then we did work for 5 weeks or so. I took off, only came back later in the clay season. But my physio kept on telling me it sounds like completely like a TFCC. And then after, I think, the grass court season, she came to join me in the States. And the first thing she told me is like, yep, you tore this tendon off. I was playing with extreme pain, just painkillers, injections, things like this. But I did play my best tennis, also with my injury. That whole run I had in America, beating Nadal, making quarters at US Open, all of that was through a lot of injections and painkillers, which obviously no one knows, like I would never talk about it in media or say anything like that. But I was managing, strapping in the best way and just doing as much treatment as we can to try and help it. And then I ended up tearing another ligament in my wrist this year. I guess from all the inflammation buildup, it was just under too much stress. And that's kind of where I had to pull a plug,
Okay. The tendon that you tore, is that like a tendon that you can still playing?
In theory, you don't need the tendon because your wrist will still be able to do the same movement. The problem is if you try and do the movement, you'll have an extreme amount of pain. But it didn't, I wouldn't say it influenced my movement. But whenever, I would drop the racket for leverage with the racket in my hand, I could barely hold the racket. It felt like I just had to drop it. So without strapping, without warming it up properly, like there's no way. Like my first few balls that I would hit in practice every day would be like dreadful. And then eventually as it warms up, like everything else starts firing around that tendon and then it starts to feel okay. So this was kind of the situation just for a long time.
How did you get into tennis?
And there was little me. I was probably like 2.5 years old, not even 3. And I was at the courts, like barely running around and seeing my mom, dad, sister, everyone playing tennis on the weekends. And I just wanted a racket in my hand also. So my dad sawed off like even a small racket, like even smaller, because I'm 2.5 years old. And put it in my hand, and there I was already like starting to hit the ball. And yeah, just over 3, I started serving already. It was crazy. I just love tennis. I just wanted to be around the courts and play with my family.
When was the first like lesson that you had with a coach? Do you remember that? Like at what age did you start really taking lessons?
Pretty young, pretty young. I would say like from 5, 6 already.
Okay.
But we're talking like once a week, maybe, like
Yeah, yeah.
not, or twice a week, go play in a group. So not
Yeah,
like
yeah.
lessons with a coach on a daily basis or so, anything like that.
Yeah, of course,
Um,
that came later, that's for sure.
yeah, and one of the things for me is like I was not one of the kids that just play tennis. I mean, growing up, rugby was probably my favorite sport. I was playing rugby, I was playing cricket, I was doing swimming, I did athletics. I was doing just about everything. So even until I think it was about like 15, almost 16 is when I made the decision that I'm only going to play tennis and really try and take it like, I don't know, more seriously, train more than just, afternoons and stuff like that. I think it gave me a good balance, but I think things are changing, things are changing. These days, 15, 16-year-olds apparently is like almost winning Grand Slams. So stop.
But that's a good question. But coming back to that topic, would you recommend like a young kid to have that variety of sports and say, hey, do like whatever you like and enjoy it, and then at some point, of course, you need to decide which sport you're gonna do, but all the other sports helping you to perform better at the sport that you finally choose.
Look, it's interesting. It's always an interesting one. I feel like having played the other sports, I mean, I was in a team sport, so naturally you learn something about that environment, working with other players, working with other people, and also such a different environment of being in a kind of a team sport. Um, so I definitely think it helped me in a sense that also, like, for instance, I was playing cricket, I was doing swimming, I was doing athletics, so I felt like it helped me with my athleticism on the court. Felt like something like cricket really helped me with my arm for serving. Just throwing balls and passing and kicking and all this stuff really helped me to develop other skills that you wouldn't necessarily just learn on the tennis court or in a tennis environment. Um, but the thing is, you don't have to do it until maybe the age I did it. I mean, it could be until an earlier age, and then you kind of put more attention towards tennis, which I think is becoming more and more necessary in
Okay.
today's time because, yeah, I feel like the standards and level is just going up, and kids are getting better at a younger age, and we're starting to see that more and more. So I do think it is better to transition earlier, but still have a healthy level of maybe playing other sports as well. I think it's also fun for kids, it's fun playing those other sports.
100%. What age did you do the other sports then?
Yeah, probably like 14,
Okay.
something like that. 14, maybe 15. Yeah.
So would you say that, for example, the average age in the top 100 like has increased over the last decades significantly? The average of getting into the top 100 has increased significantly. Would you say that there will be a change at some point? Because the younger players get better and better, and there's also a lot of younger guys getting in
Yeah.
there earlier.
Well, I feel like now it's changed. It's already changed. I mean, if you look at the top 100 now, you look at the top 20 now, I mean, guys are mid 20s. So many younger guys there also. I mean, I feel like a lot of the older guys have dropped down out of top 20, top 30. They may be hovering around more like a 50 to 100 ranking now. Obviously, there's still a bunch of them. I mean, for sure, but it's already changing and evolving for sure. So I do think an even bigger change is coming in the very near future. I do think there's still another 10, 15 guys which are not going to be playing for another 3 or 4 years. They might have another 2, 3 years in them, and that's it. So I do think there is already a big change coming, and that people will start breaking into the top 100 again earlier than there was like just a few years ago.
When was the moment where you said, or your parents or the coaches, hey, that could be potentially, yeah, a pro career? Like how did that like turn out, or how was the whole process?
Yeah, yeah, I was 15. That's when my parents spoke to Anthony. And then yeah, that's when we kind of made the decision to move to him. And once we moved over to him, it was like, okay, we're gonna play tennis now. We're really gonna put more focus into it. I'm gonna try and spend more full days at the academy. Try and get more off time from school and stuff like that, and really try and practice harder, get to more tournaments. And yeah, Anthony really believed in me, and so he was one of the people. Him and my parents were the ones driving it, and obviously I was talented. I love tennis, and it's what I wanted to do. I mean, it's definitely was my dream always. But yeah, so that's kind of when I made that move, and that's when I started traveling with him. And Anthony always told me, I'm going to be a player. I'm going to be a player. But it wasn't always the idea of playing pro was always there, but it wasn't always a reality because I didn't really have the funding. So it would have been really hard. And that's why, I mean, I definitely at some point I was considering college 100%, 16, 17. It was only in my last year where I decided, okay, I'm going to when I turned 18, where I decided, okay, I'm going to go full out for it. But before that, I had to consider other options because also funding wasn't something that I had.
Did you play any junior tournaments there? Like really like traveling more than, let's say, Cape Town and half an hour car drive?
I played the Smirkville Bowl when I was 10. That was my first international tournament.
And is it in Croatia? I've
Yeah,
never,
yeah.
I've never been there because I've never worked with like these really young kids. But it's fun to see like the 10-year-olds. The bags are as tall as the players. They walking around with the bag like literally touching the ground, and it's fun. And they play it there, so some good guys, right? How did you compete there? Like how do you remember any results from there, or were you any good?
Yeah,
Or
I did quarterfinals there. I don't know if that
okay,
means anything. I think you
which is
had to
interesting.
I think you had to do like a round robin, and then I played
Yeah.
like round of 16, and then I won that, and then I lost to I think the guy who won in the end. I can't
Okay.
recall his name. I think he was Italian, but I
Okay.
don't think he played. He doesn't play. But
Okay.
yeah, but it was a great experience. It was there. My whole family, we went.
Oh wow.
We were all in Croatia,
Okay.
and was really a nice trip. After that, my parents took me to Wimbledon for the first time.
Oh wow.
So we made a little
Nice.
bit of a trip of that, and when we were at Wimbledon, that was the first time I got to see Federer. I got to see Federer play against Safin. I was 10 years old, and I remember it's a good story. My sister, she went missing at Wimbledon, and there's no phones and stuff. Like there's no way of getting hold. Like it's impossible to get hold of my sister, right? So we like all scrambling around. Like my mom and my dad has a phone, but us as kids, like we couldn't get in touch with us. And we ended up finding her like an hour or 2 hours later, standing in the queue for the ticket resales at Wimbledon. And she's and then she's like near the front of the queue, and she's like, the first thing she says is, I need money to buy the resale tickets because we're gonna go watch Federer. And I mean,
Uh,
you can imagine my parents are like super upset, but then
yeah,
in the
yeah.
end, the idea was brilliant. It was one of the coolest experiences ever, and to this day, it's like one of our best memories, as a family. So
Oh
it's pretty
wow.
funny. Yeah. So thanks to Monique for getting us those tickets, and yeah, it was quite a memorable experience to say the least.
So
Who would
at
have
the
known I'm
end,
going to play him on that same court, like just 10 years later? Like,
what was the hardest part for you to get that and to becoming a pro like you are today?
yeah, I feel like I didn't have like incredible results as a junior. I was winning a lot in Africa, and I got to 38 in the world. So maybe some people will say, yeah, that's pretty good. But I made all my points in Africa, China, playing African championships, like B2, like getting a ridiculous amount of points for not beating that highly ranked players.
Mm.
Um, so I don't feel like I really justified that ranking. And I think one of the hard things or was maybe I wasn't winning as much because I was really trying to build my Anthony was really trying to build my game also for like to be a player. And I had a very aggressive game style, trying to, we were always working on trying to serve big forehand, big weapon, stuff like this. And yeah, it just never really all came like together in the same way that it did once I started playing on the future scene. So I think that was one of the harder transitions, but definitely working on that type of game that I wanted to, use going forward really helped me to become a better player. I do believe. Um, but yeah, I think also one of the things for me was just to get enough exposure. Not that easy. Coming from South Africa, to get enough exposure to play against enough top players, it was pretty tough, especially at the start. Like from 14 to 16 didn't happen all that often, but after that I managed to get a little bit more, which really helped. So for me, it was about getting that really good competition, measuring yourself, and being able to see what you need to work towards.
Most of the professional players, they say exactly what you just said, that it's more about the development of the players and not about the rankings. And nowadays, like,
Sure.
the parents, there's so much looking into rankings. I mean, where's my kid going to the tournaments? They have to beat the kid from the other parents that believe that they are good and stuff. So I mean, sometimes it's like a circus down there in these Tennis Europe tournaments, where I've also been, like, under 12, under 14, even under 16 tournaments. But under 16 is already, it starts already to divide, of those who really develop their game and getting better, and those who just looking for rankings all the years and then seeing themselves down, just dropping out of the ranking because they just didn't do their job properly, by building up their game. So yeah, well said. And that's just nice to hear, because that's what I'm teaching all the parents and all the kids. And sometimes the parents, they don't believe it, because they say, yeah, but ranking is also important to get in the tournaments. I said, yeah, but it's important to be good at when you're like 16, 17, 18, but not when you're like 10, 11, or even 13, 14.
No. I say once you start playing in like ITF events, yeah, it becomes important in a sense, but also that cannot be your priority. I mean, if you keep working on your game, you keep developing the player that you want to develop, the ranking is going to come, within time. So I think you have a spot on right there. So for me, it's all about working on the stuff you believe your player needs to be working on, and then the results will just happen naturally.
Have you ever played chess, actually, Lloyd? And if so, how good are you?
I have played chess. Yeah, my best friend, since we were 2-3 years old, he used to play chess for South Africa. So
Really?
yes, very good player.
No way.
And he doesn't play chess anymore. But he used to be incredibly good. And back in the day when I'm talking about 12, 13 years old, I could play, I think, pretty good. But I mean, I've barely played in the last 10 years. But I still know how to play chess. I mean, obviously, I played pretty much a lot with him when I was younger. We used to play with the clock all the time. So,
Nice.
I was playing at a decent level. He taught me some openings that I also can't remember anymore.
But that's cool to hear.
So I used to really like it. I mean, obviously, I followed and watched him and stuff like that. But yeah, now it's been a little bit different.
Do you know any other players on the tour that play chess? There's actually a study from a guy from Barcelona. He made actually a master's degree on that tennis and chess correlates quite well. So if kids play good chess, they can focus longer on the court, and they will not be losing their focus that much. And on the other way, the same. If a player is not on the court, like, focusing a long period of time, this kid is the first losing their queen on while playing chess. So that's why I was because I know some players, but
I think Rublev plays chess.
Yeah, he does.
I've seen him play chess with his coach. Jeez, I can't recall. There is definitely a few guys, but jeez, I mean,
the Russians play chess. I mean, I also know that Medvedev and Kachanov playing better than Rublev. Actually, Rublev said once that he has to get a coach now on chess because the other guy is kicking his ass regularly.
Well, Medvedev is a chess master in tennis, so I guess he's a chess master in chess as well. So makes sense.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but the Russians, of course, Russians and Indians, they have a big tradition. Of course, Americans as well, but I would say Indian, where the game says, or where the game is from, kind of. And then Russian has also a big tradition in chess, so that's why mostly the Indian and Russian players play. I know that Ljubicic is a very good chess player, Ivan. He's one of the best, like, he has a rating of 2,300 kind of, which is very, very good.
Okay.
And Roger, I saw him playing also a little bit, but more like on the phone. It was in Halle when Roger had the phone of Ljubicic playing some round of chess, and then Roger gave the phone back to Ljubicic, and says, "Here, go win the game." And then Ivan said, "Hey, Roger, I mean, come on, you're giving me you're losing your queen, completely losing position, and then you give me the phone that I should win it again." That was kind of funny that he was also like here and there playing some, but and I also know some doubles player also playing chess. But I just wanted to know for my personal interest how many players are playing. And also nowadays you don't see it happening that often, because in the players lounge, like 20 years ago, there was no cell phone and people were always on Instagram and stuff. They played card games, they played board games, they played chess. So nowadays it's barely knowable like who of these guys are really playing chess.
We play card games. So that's why I never
What do you
get
play?
to play chess.
So
we play Monopoly Deal.
Monopoly
You know
Deal.
this game? Monopoly Deal, the card game.
No, I've never played that.
Yeah, so it's like a shortened version. It's like with cards of Monopoly, and it's very popular. So many people is playing it like on tour.
Really?
Also.
I've never seen it. Maybe. But with whom are you playing then? Like, who are the guys playing? Who is the best Monopoly?
My team.
With your team.
My team. Yeah. So before and after meals, and when we're waiting around and having coffee and stuff like that.
That's cool.
And then it's always a big laugh. We love the game because you steal each other's properties, you steal their sets. It's the best. You take their money, and then everybody gets angry, and then everyone's friends again. It's a good dynamic.
Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds a lot of fun. And it's very important, of course, like because on a tournament you have a lot of waiting hours, and of course the cell phone is always not the best friend. Like also on the tournament, it takes your energy here and there. So I really enjoy doing these kind of things. So that's very good.
For sure.
So another question came up here: is what would be your job if you would not be a tennis pro?
Oof. Always growing up, I always said I was going to be like an engineer, maybe do IT, something like that.
Okay.
I was really smart in school. Like I did pretty well at school. So I always figured that, I could, kind of pick what I wanted to study, So
yeah.
I think I would have gone into like engineering or something like that. Never really came that close. But yeah, if it was coming from a young age, then probably that. And if I had to say now, it would obviously be something completely different because I didn't get to study anything. So I don't think engineering is, in the question anymore. It's not. Yeah, I like the idea of like sales or trading or
Okay.
Yeah, something like that. Who knows? But definitely from a young age, engineering was like out there.
Yeah, interesting. So what life lesson would you say tennis has learned you?
A lot. We call tennis and travels and everything that goes around the tennis life, we call it the school of life. Because
what do you mean
me and Anthony, my coach, yeah. So we call it the school of life because everything I learned, everything that I've been through, everything has become or has come from my tennis journey and being on the road, and all my experiences, all the ups and downs, the highs and lows, it's all come from the tennis journey. I feel like I've learned more things in tennis and on the road and part of this journey than I would any other way, any other place. So I always think that's why like also tennis people are like very interesting to talk to, because you'll see them learn so much about so many different things just because they're so worldly also. But yeah, what lesson? So many lessons. I don't even know where to start. Like, I don't know. Do you want like one specific lesson?
Yeah, let's say something that you say. Okay, this is like that really the tennis that has taught me throughout all the years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would say one main thing is like the one thing I learned is if you put your mind and everything into something, like if you put all the hard work, you put your mind into it, you really go out there and do it. I wasn't the best player, I wasn't the best whatever, but I really put 110% into it. You can reach your goals. If you have a goal, you can reach it. If you have a good ability and you work hard, you really put the time and the effort into it, like I believe you can reach it. It needs to be realistic, but still, I do believe that that all that work and time and effort does pay off eventually. And I think it goes for anything in life.
Lloyd, I'm almost crying. Very good, very well said. No, I 100% agree on that one. 100%.
Yeah.
Very, very good. Very, very good. So one last one that that goes more into the tennis direction before we go further on in your career. What is a routine for you to go into a match? How does it look like before a match? And we talk about, you know, the match starts at 10 o'clock and you have to prepare for that. Because I told also in the stream here, if you have a Grand Slam and you have a Grand Slam match, a guys match in front of you, you might warm up like for 2.5 hours because the guy seems like winning in 3 sets, then they go to a fourth, you warm him up again. And then, so you know it starts at 10. What would be your routine to go into that match?
Yeah, so normally our matches start at 11, so I'll just run with that because it's easier to explain. Like so it would be for me like waking up, having a big breakfast, because I know I'm not gonna have anything more than a snack still probably before I play at 11. Probably have
what is
some
a big
fruit.
breakfast for you?
A big breakfast?
Yeah.
I don't eat that much, so don't quote me like on a big breakfast.
Yeah, that's what I'm just asking.
Like a omelet, some cereal, yogurt, and some fruits. Something along that line, maybe a piece of toast with that. Yeah, just try and get as much into me as possible, but still like feeling comfortable at least. You know, you don't want to overkill it, and then later on have a bar, maybe from fruits, something that also digests pretty fast and well for you. But yeah, so a big breakfast, go early to the courts, get there, have a coffee when arriving at the courts. That's my routine.
What is early? Sorry to be specific. I want to have specific facts.
So my warm up, if I'm playing at 11, my tennis warm up would be at 9:30.
Okay.
So that means I would probably start doing all my physical stuff at 9, which probably means I'm stretching a little bit with my physio at like 8:45 already. So yeah, arriving at the courts 15 minutes before that to have the coffee. So let's say 8:30, something like that, 8:20. Also, I hate them. Well, like I hate standing up in the mornings. Like mornings is my nemesis in life for now. Hopefully one day that will change.
Do you know a tennis player that really loves to stand up really early?
There is, but not many.
Only a really few, I think.
Yeah, the majority is like, nah. Now give me a 7 p.m. match and I'm like as happy as can be. Give me a 11 a.m. match, like, yeah. So you know, I travel with Xavier a lot, so he's like, if he used to tell the tournament director, if you put me on at 11, you might as well just throw me out of the tournament because there's no way I'm physically or mentally rocking up for my 11 o'clock match.
Yeah.
So yeah, he says he was way worse than I am, and I'm like, shit, that's tough. That's tough. That's a big effort because I struggle. So for me, in my eyes, that's pretty early because that means you still got to have breakfast before that. You still got to take your ride to the courts. So everything, goes into a very early morning. And yeah, if you don't get to bed early enough, you're not gonna get your hours of sleep you need. That's for sure.
Interesting. What do you hear some music? Like, and then when going into the match, like after the warm up, physical warm up, you said like 9:30 is your tennis warm up. You warm up probably like half an hour, as all the pro players. Let's say half an hour, 45 minutes maximum, and then you have still an hour to do. So what in that hour?
Yep. So straight after the warm up, I'll go shower. Always shower. Come back. As soon as I come back, I do my grips. My team will normally prepare my drinks for me. So just get everything ready. And once we've done that, we'll probably play some cards for 15 minutes. And then, it's probably like 20 minutes before we'll go head back, to the warm-up area and just start to get things, going slowly again. And then, the 10 minutes before, just very explosive runs, movements, shoulders, get everything really fired. Get some ball throws, get some, quick reaction stuff. And then, after that, it's put my earphones, get in the zone, and then be ready for the match.
Cold shower after the warm-up?
No.
Never?
Who likes cold water? No, never.
No, I do actually.
No, I can't. Even in Dubai when I'm like, it's screeching hot, I come back, I still wouldn't take a cold shower. Like, it would be like, not like hot. It would be like medium. Yeah.
But what about ice bath then? You never take an ice bath in your
No,
life?
I
No?
have, I have, I have.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, I have a few times, but I don't believe in that.
You don't believe in
Yeah,
that. Okay, that's
yeah.
interesting.
There's nothing that proves that it actually works. So I don't believe in it. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
There's actually nothing that proves that it helps your recovery because things tighten up in your body and the blood
Yeah,
circulates
I feel
faster
like
and
half of the study shows it's very helpful, and half of the study
okay.
shows the opposite. So for me, it's like, for me personally, I don't feel that it's ever helped me or made a difference to me, and I absolutely hate it. So it just this. I mean, I do a lot of other recovery stuff, and I feel like
Yeah.
that is way more worth my time and my effort than standing in freezing water.
Of course, and the
Um,
studies that show that it doesn't help anything, you love these guys that did these studies, right?
Listen, the good thing is my physio doesn't believe in it either. So,
Okay.
so thankfully we're on the same page.
That's why she's for your physio. I understand. I understand. So
Exactly,
so
exactly.
what do you do after like a 5 hour match, Grand Slam match, or let's say 4 hour and you're kind of dead? What is your recovery then? What do you do?
Yeah. First things first, protein shake straight in my hand when I come off. Get on the bike, spin for 10 minutes. Then I'll go shower because probably your chances of cramping if you stretch straight away is pretty big. So first that little bike, shower, then have a nice stretch, long stretch with the physio. Then we'll probably flush the body, just flush the legs and the back and whatever. And then if there's some work to be done, we'll probably do that later on in the evening.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But also just food before that, of course. But yeah,
For what? After the shower?
no. So food, stretch, and then shower.
Food. So
Oh, no.
spinning.
I mean, okay.
You go off
Spinning.
the court, protein.
Yeah, yeah. Protein, spinning, shower. After the shower, we stretch, and then food.
Okay, got it.
Yeah,
How long do you stretch after the match if you still have, for example, the next match a match? How long is one stretch for one muscle?
a few seconds, not that long.
Okay, so it's not
Well,
like a
normally,
half an hour,
no,
half a minute stretch.
no. I mean, normally we do like 10 seconds, and we do each muscle like a few times.
Okay, okay,
Yeah. So nothing. We don't hold it for that long. But we do the same muscle a few times.
okay.
Yeah. I do think longer stretches are also good. You also need those, but for post match, that's kind of not in our routine to hold for that long.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, with stretching anyway, there's a lot of myth and okay, you should stretch
Yeah,
like
yeah, for
this and before
sure.
the match like this, and of course, I mean, static stretching is not pretty good before you exercise. That's what
Yeah.
is like the main stretching thing that people say, but in general, it's interesting. Like different people stretch different. That's why I just wanted to know what you do after the
Hmm.
match or between the matches.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Okay, guys. We go to the mental part of the game before we then head to back to your career. When was the first time that you started doing mental training? Do you do actual mental training? Do you have a mental coach? Give us a short insight on your mental game, because when I remember, I seen you also some matches and also already in Stellenbosch 6-7 years ago. You were mentally actually pretty solid since the beginning. I didn't see you completely freaking out. I mean, of course, you have won all the trophies there. Maybe that was part of it why you didn't freak out. But yeah, give us a short insight on that.
Yeah. I think uh, throughout my career, I've been pretty. I'm a calm player. I don't not too many ups and downs and highs and lows. Too many emotions on the court. So I think that helps a lot for me personally. I mean, obviously, each person is completely different. So I feel like I've always been mentally stable. I think I've always dealt well with pressure and big moments and stuff like that. So I don't think I've necessarily needed mental coaching or mental for that front. It's more there's a lot of things that starts to happen once you play professionally besides just like what's going on the tennis court. There's a lot of other stuff to deal with also. So it's just about talking through a lot of things and stuff like that, which has been a lot of help for me when I've had that. But I mean, yeah, I mean, if you struggle sometimes, it's good to talk and just to get another perspective and to hear what someone else has to say. But I do think it's becoming more and more of a thing that can help you going forward. I do think it's a big part of tour now. Like a lot of guys have a mental coach or a mental, like a team that works with them and stuff like that. So I do think it's important to have that kind of a role or mentor. Definitely doesn't have to be on a daily basis, but just once in a while to talk over some things and situations and stuff like that. I think it's also helped me a lot.
So was Anthony the person, or did you have like a mental kind of coach that you could talk to?
Yeah, obviously I always had like my team, who was the people I spoke to the most. I had some people like mental coach, mental um, from the mental aspect that helped me. So I did go. I've had like one or two people that I have worked with, not for an extended period, more for shorter periods, but in that time it helped me tremendously. So, yeah.
Very good. So now jumping back to your tour life then. So then what a question? Yeah, I wanted to know. Of course, I'm pretty sure that you know. When was your first ATP main draw win?
My first ATP main draw. Jeez.
Yeah.
I think it was.
I was sure that he would know that, because I said he would. Of course, he would not forget that.
I can't remember the year. I think it was in China.
It was in China, yes.
Yeah, it was in China. I can't remember what year it was.
2018.
2018. There we go. You have this. You went to go look it up, didn't you?
Of course. I didn't know it. I didn't know it by heart.
I know it was in China, so I got that part right.
So you don't know against whom you won the first round there?
It was.
I think it was a seeded player.
A seeded player.
I think so. I could be wrong, but I mean, this guy's could be probably a seeded player. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe he was not seeded.
That was not my first ATP though.
So you played against Gael Monfils in
yeah, but that was
Chengdu.
Not my first ATP. I knew straight away you were thinking about that, but that wasn't my first ATP.
So that was not your ATP 250 event that you have won the first match? Okay, then
where I've won, or you asked me what was my first ATP?
No, the first win, the first match that you won.
Shit, maybe it was the first win. No, could it be?
Yeah, I mean, I think the internet doesn't lie. Against Gael Monfils.
Yeah, I was playing qualies the previous year, also in China, and then, did I not win an ATP match before that? Can't be.
That's so funny. I mean, I would. Are you a guy that remembers a lot from your matches and from your tournaments, or you forget about stuff? You don't know the score. You have no clue what was the score there.
No.
That's funny, because if for example, Yannick Mann, the guy that I traveled with regularly, he would tell you everything. He would tell you the score. He would tell you like how the match point was.
And some matches, some matches. The ones I really want to remember, but some of them no.
So Gael Monfils won the first set 6-3, and then you won 6-2, 6-1. So that was your first ATP match, and it's just 4 years ago. So we're not talking like 10 years ago, but it's all right. It's all right.
That's a long time ago.
For a tennis player, definitely. So that was the first match on the ATP tour that you have won. Before getting into the pro tour, was it harder for you to transition from the juniors to the ITF, like kind of? Or from, let's say, more from the ITF to the challenger stages, or more from the challenger stages then to the ATP tour stages?
I think I would say like Futures was obviously a long part of my journey. I did play Futures for like 2.5 years, something like that, on and off, maybe even 3 years or whatever. Then in the 6 months transition, it was like playing some Futures, playing some challenges, had to like mix and match, because I wasn't winning enough matches to kind of only play challenges. And then eventually, once I took off, challenges went pretty quickly for me. I had a breakthrough at the end of the year, and then all of a sudden it just kind of went upwards from there and went to ATPs pretty quickly. So I do think I transitioned into ATP pretty quickly there. But yeah, then ATP was a whole nother challenge, getting used to that, and I felt like the level was definitely harder to get used to than it was for me to get used to the challenges for some reason. I think it's different for everyone. Same like futures was easy for me to get used to from juniors, but then again ATP was hard for me to get used to from the Challenger Tour.
Okay, interesting. Okay, then you made, as I said, you made it through the ATP Tour, and then breaking in the top 100, of course, was then a year later. And like take us on like some good matches that you have played, and on the like let's say rising up into the rankings and make it up to 30. I mean, you had some, as you said before, you played against Roger in Wimbledon center court.
Yeah.
Take us on that, like 3 years. It's just 4 last years actually since you've broken in the top 100.
Yeah. I mean, I think the first big thing is like even dating back to the futures was I won six futures in a row, which was pretty cool feat. And then even then I was still like I think 260 in the world, like barely, getting into challenges at that point. I mean, the cut still used to be a lot stronger. And then I kind of made that transition into challenges. End of that year, I went to Lexington. I think the best result in the challenger, I made one semis, but it was like 1 or 2 quarters, one semi, and the rest was kind of like second rounds and first rounds. So I don't think anyone expected me. I wasn't seeded or anything like that. Expect me to do well, and I won that tournament playing really good tennis. Just kind of riding the wave from there on out. Played finals again the next week in Aptos, Vancouver quarterfinals the next week. Then I went on to play US Open, qualified for US Open. Did end up losing first round, but I just kind of rode that wave and transitioned pretty quickly from there on out. And then it was in January that next year when I was in Australia, I qualified for Australia. And then it was actually just after that in Tasmania when I broke into the top 100. You see, I do remember that. So there's a bit of a funny, So there's a bit of a funny story. So I was in Tasmania. And what's it called? Tasmania. Yeah, Tasmania.
Yeah, Tasmania.
Is it now?
Say it again.
The island just like off of from Australia.
Yeah, I know. Do you know the city where you played actually?
Yeah, so the first week was in Burnie. I was playing there. Oh we still okay.
Was that your tea?
No. There was just my mic. It's all good. Okay. So I was playing in Burnie. I lost first round. I was there, and Duty Seller was there with me. We were playing doubles together, or supposed to at least. So anyway, I lost, and it's already been a long trip. I've done the whole Australia. Now it's after Australia, so I lose first round, and I told Duty, listen, let's not play doubles. I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna go back to South Africa. And Duty says to me, calm down. Let's go have a coffee, relax. And I'm like, this doesn't sound like you. Like Duty would normally be like, yes, come, let's go. I'm booking my ticket to Israel now. And so I was being like, a little kid, angry at losing first round, played terribly. He told me, come, let's just go play doubles. So anyway, I remember us walking onto the court literally with a coffee in our hands because we didn't realize what time we're supposed to play. And we weren't really prepped or really like motivated to play. And we played someone like a really tough team, but we were so relaxed, played so well, won the first round. Next thing you know, I think we played like Beja Escobar, something like that. It was like also a really good team. Ended up beating them. Semi-finals, we beat another team, and then we beat I think it was Saville Purcell in the final. I mean, all like top 100 players right now, and that was in Burnie, and that kind of we just ended up having a good week, relaxed week. And Tudi convinced me to stay, and then then in the next week I won Launceston. I won the challenger there, and that's what broke me into the top 100. And I ended up beating Duty in the semis, So he wasn't too happy about that, but because he convinced me to stay, but still.
Very, very good.
So yeah,
And then,
so
and then,
that's how I broke into the top 100.
yeah, interesting. Yeah, yeah, very, very good. I mean, these stories, they happen on tour. These interesting things. I've heard a lot of stories like that. That someone, yeah, wanted
Yeah,
to pull out of a tournament or not going there, and then eventually getting there, and then making a good story. And most of the time, it's also the situation. If you don't expect it, it's more likely that something's gonna happen because you don't care if you're gonna lose, and that's what is so hard, because you really desperately want to win the match, and that
yeah,
sometimes makes you tight and makes you like care about it too much. Your thoughts are more on like trying to win the match for any like yeah, with any possibility, and then you end up maybe getting too tense, too tight, and losing a match. Did you have any
absolutely.
do you have issues with getting like too tight in matches when you play like good guys, or you about to close the match?
No, I mean, it's situational. Like sometimes it just happens. Sometimes you will get a bit more tired. Maybe you haven't been winning that much. Sometimes you will have this, but other times you'll feel nothing and you'll just cruise through it. So I think this is part of tennis. Sometimes you'll
Yeah.
feel the pressure way more than you will at other times. So could you say you have a problem with that then? I don't think so. I think it's just natural, you know? So
Yeah.
for me, if I play the big guys, that's what I love the most. For me, also it's easier then because you don't have the pressure then so much. So if you walk onto the court playing Rafael Nadal, Roger Federer, or any top 10 guy for that matter right now, I mean, you have way less pressure. You're not the guy supposed to win that match, but if you feel confident and you believe it, then yeah, you can make it difficult for them.
So yeah, I mean, I know a little bit how it is to step on court against Rafa, because I was with Yannick at the French Open when he stepped on the court playing Rafa. It did not work out that well, actually. I mean, we did make what was it, 7 games in 3 sets, which is already remarkable, I would say. But it didn't work out for us. So, but to take us on the ride when you played Rafa, where was that, and how did you go into the match and take us on that situation?
Yeah, it was in Washington. It was in Washington, and 2 weeks before that is when my physio met up with me, and I had to I took like 2 weeks off, and then we were working on my wrist. I was practicing it. Wasn't hitting any forehands, couldn't hit a forehand, just practicing backhand, practicing fitness, like trying to. Then we went to Atlanta. I had my first hit the day before played against Thompson, I think. Yeah, lost first round, was absolutely terrible. Um, yeah, just in a bad state. I haven't hit forehands, so much pain, whatever. Went to DC, met up. Xavier came at that time, and we were like, damn, like, should we be playing here? Should we like skip this week? Whatever. Ended up feeling a little bit better after getting some more painkillers, injections, stuff like that, and yeah, ended up passing first round. I think Sangren even retired like after one set of my match. So went on to the court, practiced a little bit, and then I had to play Rafa, and I was like, shit, okay, this is not an easy ask, but also in that sense, I felt like I haven't been hitting forehands, I have been barely playing tennis in the last few weeks. I've just been so I was like, okay, well, I don't feel like I'm putting any pressure on myself for this match because I felt like absolutely nothing to lose, like no
Yeah.
confidence in my wrist whatsoever, and I went out on the court, and let's just say I played pretty well. My serve was on fire, full stadium, crowd, so much energy. It was absolutely nuts. I felt like I was moving really well because I've been working on my movement and fitness for the last 2 or 3 weeks. So this is one of the big things that I think helped me so much. And all of a sudden, I just got more and more belief, more and more confidence as the match went along. And I think the adrenaline was pumping so much, I didn't even know my wrist hurt. Um, and next thing you know, match point came, and let's just say then I got a little bit tight, but somehow we ended up taking the first one in a dramatic fashion. And yeah, definitely still like probably the best moment of my career. Absolutely, like yeah. I hope I never play Rafa again. So that's I can claim a 1-0 against Rafa, but yeah, it's funny. I was actually supposed to play him in the next week, and
Okay.
he pulled out.
Oh,
So
really?
I won first round in Montreal, and then I was
Yeah.
supposed to play Rafa.
Oh,
And I was watching Rafa practice with Karatsev. They were practicing next to me, and me and Xavier, we were doing like our little chilled session, like because I won first round, and I was doing like this chill practice session, and these guys were going full blow. Like I remember my head couldn't even follow the ball at the speed. You know, Karatsev is like inside the court, Rafa ripping it, Karatsev stepping in. I mean, it was a ridiculous level for like 2 hours. These guys were going at it. I was like, it's pretty interesting. Like we playing tomorrow, and but anyway, I was like, I don't think it's gonna be that easy to beat Rafa again tomorrow. Like I'm gonna have to be a different animal. And then he ended up pulling out, I think the next morning or that night or something. And I was, yeah, I don't know if I was happy or bleak at the same time, a little bit of both. But it was quite an experience and definitely one of my best moments, if not my best moment of my career.
okay. Um, did you play Roger before or after that in Wimbledon?
Before.
The way before. So
Yeah.
what was that to play? I mean, it's the same like playing Rafa in Paris. I mean, playing Roger in Wimbledon
Yeah.
probably kind of
Listen,
similar.
I mean,
When
it
was that?
was 2020,
Okay.
2019. No, 2019. I played Roger, 2019. And yeah, I mean, I just remember Anthony, he called it. He called, I'm going to play Roger before the draw came out. And the draw came out, and then he's like, who do you play? I'm like, what do you mean? You already told me. He's like, what? No, what? Like, what are you talking about? And then I was actually playing Roger, so it was pretty ironic how that worked out.
First round was that?
Yeah, first round, and that was my first ever main draw match at Wimbledon. So
Okay.
what a hell of an introduction to Wimbledon. Playing
Okay.
playing the GOAT of Wimbledon, probably the GOAT of tennis, like at Wimbledon, your first match ever, like I mean it was a goosebump moment walking out onto the stadium. I mean, he's so loved and adored by all the fans, and you know at Wimbledon you walk out together, so it's like you get that round of applause. I remember looking into the stands, like just trying to take in the whole environment. I mean, I just remember standing there for the coin toss and thinking like, oh my God, I'm about to play against Roger. But yeah, me and him had some funny like banter before already going into the match. He was playing some mind games with me. I think he was trying to, get me a little bit nervous.
Really?
Yeah.
When and where?
Yeah,
In the warm-up
yeah.
area?
No, like already a day or two before it was starting. He was starting. He was planting a seed in my head.
Really?
Um,
No way. So after the draw came out and he knew that he played you, he was making fun, like jokes or what?
yeah. He was. I remember I was lying on the physio bed, and he was coming to see like or do something in the physio room, and then we were like greeting each other and like laughing that we were playing each other, and then he was saying to me like, at least it's not your first time out there. And so, he was like, anyway, so the mind games had already started, and yeah, it was pretty funny. I love the guy. I mean, he's a great guy. I love Roger. I think it's because he's half South African, so we're allowed to
Yeah.
have our some banter. But yeah, it was just an amazing moment, and I mean, obviously sad that I lost, but I won the first set. People thought something was about to happen, the upset of the century. It didn't quite end up like that, but I took a lot from that experience, and I learned so much, and I think that really helped me a lot in my career. So yeah.
Did you practice with him before? I mean, I remember you did the when they had the show match in Cape Town. You were there with them, and did you like knew him like for since you ever gotten there, or when was the first encounter with him?
Never practiced with him before that. Like
Okay.
only after that we started practicing a bit more. But I mean, obviously I've spoken to him a bit. He knew. I mean, we were talking a lot about South Africa and stuff like that before, and I got to know him a little bit, but not in the same way that I got to know him after or in the last few years. So I've never hit against him. So yeah, that forehand just felt a little bit different, if I can say that.
Can imagine, yeah. I was also amazed by the slice when I practiced with Yannick in the Australian Open. We had 2 practices with him. I mean, that slice floats through the air was just like, I was like, whoa, okay. And it seems like he can just place it wherever he wants to. And also with the forehand, he plays the same speed, and just out of nowhere, injection of speed is just ridiculous. So
Yeah.
And then when was that that show match in Cape Town?
Match for Africa. So that must have been like end of
19.
End of 20. No. End of 20.
No, there was Corona. End of 20, like during.
No, I can't recall. Somewhere down in history.
That's the best. Okay. So obviously you were down because it's your hometown, and then you were hitting there practicing. Did you play?
I was just back there for like a week or 2 practicing. It was like a coincidence how it worked out. Yeah.
Okay.
And then we did a pro-am event where I helped Roger Ruffa. It was me, Roger Ruffa, and then there was someone else. We were 4 courts, and then we had like all these. I was playing with Bill Gates. I was playing with some really cool people. We were doing
Bill Gates was there,
we were playing a whole pro-am, and they were like all rotating. We had 1 pro per court, and it was really fun. We were doing it at our academy, at Anthony's academy, so it was really cool. And then obviously I went to practice with him on the stadium court, which was nuts. I mean, there was no backdrop, and the sound, it was like the weirdest thing ever, like playing on a court like that. It was a lot. It was like
50?
More than 60, I think like 60,000. Yeah, so yeah.
Insane. No, I mean, awesome. Imagine having tennis academy and then Bill Gates and Roger and Rafa showing up.
Oh yeah, we have like legendary photos of that. Like
I can imagine. I mean,
all of them together in the club with us. Like it was
that's
pretty cool,
insane. Drinking a coffee with these guys. I mean, only one guy is like to come to your academy is like impossible. No chance that one guy's coming, and then the 3 of them. That's insane. Okay. Get to the last couple of questions before we maybe play some more GeoGuessr. Then about your wrist now. Before you warm up now for practice, because you're trying to get back. You said you're injured now. Did you do a protected ranking after the surgery?
Yes. Yeah, I did. Yeah.
So you have to protect it on what, like 40 or something?
47, I believe.
Okay.
It's my protected. Yeah.
Okay.
And that. So yeah, I mean, obviously trying to get back, but a lot of things have changed, and still a lot of things that need to go right before I can get back too.
Sure. But is there, if you go to the practice, have you like a special warm up now also for your wrist? Like any routines for that that you do every? Absolutely.
I have some wrist exercises that I have to do. New like things, and new toys. I have. You know what a flex bar is? You know, like a rubber bar where you have to like bend around, do twists, stuff like that. Just wiggle it, get it going, like all these kind of different things. And then I also warm up my shoulders and stuff in a different, and get even more and get everything more activated to help with my wrist. Because I feel like the more warm your shoulders and your arms are, the more you're helping the muscles or the smaller muscles up front there. So yeah, I do think things have definitely changed in my warm-up routine, considering that the same, like when I've had back problems, I've added so many back exercises. So for me, back and wrist warm-ups now is like 3/4 of my warm-up.
So would you say, because that's typical, of course, you just do like stuff if you're injured somewhere, now you understand, okay, my body is and what would you like looking back, would you say that you didn't do enough warm-ups before the practices and matches? Or I mean, now of course with the background you do a lot more, but let's say like 3-4 years ago. Because you're 25.
I think of sorry.
I said because you're 25 and now of course having surgery already, like having problems here and there, and that sounds like not like a 25-year-old, but
But listen,
Yeah.
once you get to my age, it's pretty tough. Like after 20, it becomes very difficult, you know. So the back goes, the wrist goes. It's not easy.
Yeah.
No, but seriously, I think I've always been pretty good with my warm-ups. I do think I've added a lot and improved a lot with that. But like something like the wrist that happened, it was purely an accident. You know, it's not like I could have prevented that regardless of warm-ups. You know, I don't
Yeah.
think I've gotten a lot of injuries in my life because I didn't warm up properly. I don't think that's ever been a thing for me.
Okay.
I think I've always had people around me that made sure also I did my warm ups correctly and never step out onto the court without being warmed up properly.
Thank you very much, Lloyd, for your time, for your answers, and can't wait to beat you one more time in GeoGuessr.
No, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me. I mean, it was fun. I liked your questions. So yeah, no, it was really nice chatting to you. And now we move on to you know, my second career over here. Maybe this is my you know, what I would do if I wasn't a tennis player. I would just be a GeoGuessr pro.